This is really cool to me. The man is waiting for an event, and he instead gets a personal encounter with Jesus. That man is waiting on an event. He's waiting on an angel. He doesn't have a plan. I don't think there's a measure of hope in him. And if hopelessness sets in, it'll make you miss presence. Jesus walks up to the man, and the man starts complaining about his circumstances. You are in the presence of the guy who, if an angel does come trouble the waters, he told him to. I don't believe he did, but if he did, he got sent by that dude. And he walks up. Jesus walks up to the man. Can you imagine what it's like to encounter Jesus in person? And Jesus walks up to the man, and he's so committed to the system that he misses the presence. And hopelessness sets in, and when the system failed you and presence shows up, it's amazing. The first people that'll miss it is the religious people who have more confidence in a broken system that's never brought them breakthrough than they do in the actual presence of Jesus. Jesus doesn't show up to help you function in something he's been blamed for that he actually didn't create. Religion. It's what we want him to do. We want him to come. Just here's the box. Sunday morning, 10 o'clock a.m., Eastern Standard Time. Do your thing. Now, we've got lunch, but do your thing. We're all yours. I surrender all. When he walks into your circumstance, the first thing you're going to have to do is ask yourself, am I willing to let go of the hopelessness? And somebody's got to say it did not work. And instead of trying to come up with a plan to make what was never God's idea work, somebody is going to have to go back to what was God's idea. And what was God's idea is that Jesus would find 2 or more people gathered together in his name, and there he would be in the midst of them. And that would be the only way we found any true measure of transformation. Jesus came. I wonder if we've moved Jesus out of the way because he's blocking our obsession with our own strategies. The presence of Jesus is instituted, listen to this, as the final, forever, perfect strategy. No plan B. We are waiting on a strategy while being unwilling to appropriately honor presence. But if presence is the strategy, when you and I begin to experience presence and trust presence and understand that presence is the new means whereby Yahweh is going to bring us into the dimensional breakthrough we've cried out for, all of a sudden we're able to take our hands off of what we've tried to control and steer. Verse 5, there's a man who had been disabled for 38 years. He's living among the multitude of the sick. When Jesus saw him lying there, he knew that the man had been crippled for a long time. Jesus said to him, do you truly long to be healed? Do you want to be made whole? Of course I wouldn't be here. No. There's no help here. So the question is valid because you don't even have a plan on how you would make this deal work if it were true. If an angel did come stir the waters, you don't have a plan. Do you want to be whole, or do you want to be around another large group of dysfunctional people because it makes you feel better about the fact that you're dysfunctional? It's like, no. I was fine being here as long as everybody was as screwed up as I am. But the moment a few people start taking my excuses from me, I don't know how many people want to be whole. I just think people want to be around other people that are just as messed up as they are. No wonder the church is growing. The Bible was not supposed to revolve around a handful of people who called themselves holy. The Bible was calling us to a lifestyle where our whole world revolved around one who is holy. Do you truly want to be healed? I want you to see how Dr. Simmons translates this, which is brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. Or are you convinced that you are already made whole? That's what it says right here. Do you want to be made whole? Or, this is what he says to him, or are you convinced that you've already been made whole? Watch this. This is so interesting. The Greek phrase, genestai, is actually not a future tense. Do you want to be made whole in the future? Want to be healed. But it's an aorist middle infinitive that indicates something already accomplished. Jesus is asking the crippled man if he's ready to abandon how he sees himself and now ready to receive faith for his healing. When you start to see him, the first thing he'll start talking to you about is how you see you. The goodness of God leads to a transformation concerning the issue of identity. When the goodness of God showed up at the house of loving kindness, or the pool of Bethesda, the goodness of God showed up, the manifestation of who God was, the fullness of the Godhead bodily. Okay? The express image of God, the goodness of God showed up to the man by this pool. And the first thing Jesus starts talking to him about is how he sees himself. Interestingly, Jesus never talks to the man about who Jesus is. I'm thinking, drop this on him. I'm the Son of God. My mama was a virgin. You know what I mean? We're going to be okay. Let me give you my credentials. See, he let presence speak for itself. When an appropriate measure of presence shows up, you quit demanding so many explanations. The presence of God becomes the new standard of theology. And instead of this being all about what you think you've read and heard and know about God, you start to experience something that's beyond words. There's a measure of God you have not read about yet, because it has not been encountered yet, because eye has not seen and ear has not heard. And he's asking a group of people, are you willing to define your theology by your experience rather than your academic persuasions? Well, brother, that's dangerous. No, the reverse is dangerous, because you've got a bunch of people impotent in the area of communion that are trying to intellectually ascertain a God that the Bible said is past finding out. If he's past finding out, how do we find out who he is? We experience something we cannot academically explain or understand. There's a new theologian arising, and they have fire in their eyes instead of information in their heads. And when they talk to you about God, they're not talking to you about a distant notion. They're talking to you about an actualization of presence. A kingdom that is not at a great distance. A kingdom that is at hand. Do not say the kingdom is at hand and then put the king at a distance. You feel the weight of this, don't you? Show up. Jesus didn't show up and explain himself. Presence explained what could not be explained outside of presence. Try to convince the world of who he is instead of hosting such an atmosphere that when they come in the room, they've got something now more valuable than their questions. They now have a burning in their hearts. And they say, I don't understand all of this, but I have to have what I feel when I'm in the presence of the real thing. I'm telling you. He says, would you like to become who you already are? He's not trying to turn you into somebody else. He's trying to get you to divorce yourself from every lie you came into agreement with, that you are somebody other than who he designed you to be.